So I'm the shortest tonight, right? Unfortunately, I'm always the shortest, but you were all very tall. I'm sorry to end the night on a dark note, but I don't really have any stories that aren't dark about work, so here goes. My husband and I were working at a Jewish high school in Los Angeles when I became pregnant, which is to say, I became a Jewish mother, surrounded by lots of Jewish mothers. And one day when I was hugely pregnant in the grocery store, I ran into a school mom who was very excited to tell me about her pancake children. And I was like, I don't know what that is. And she said, you know, like the pancake, the skillet's too hot, or the batter's too runny, or you're too permissive and your kid ends up on a pole. You know, the first child. Pancake children. It was like, oh God, I'm a second child, my husband's a second child, we know nothing of pancake children, but it was a very sobering conversation, and mostly we were surrounded by love and advice and wisdom. Then it was actually my boss who a couple weeks later, after I had had somewhat of a traumatic birth and was unexpectedly not bonding with my child, it was my boss who called the house and said, you don't really think that something so small can change your life, but 7 pounds of uranium would level Los Angeles. And it was another sobering conversation, but it really stayed with me because what he was really saying was what I was doing was hard, and it was okay to feel leveled, and I felt leveled, and I felt not good enough, and I had a pancake child. So a couple weeks, maybe a couple months after that, I went back to work, and I was still overwhelmed. And it was my boss again. He was the head of the school. He was a parent of 4 children. Called me into his office and said, "Are you okay?" He wasn't saying it as my supervisor. He was saying it because he really cared and because I'd been crying a lot at work and it was clear that I wasn't okay. And what I said to him was, I'm having to learn to do my job all over again. I can't stay at work 60 hours a week anymore and run all the reports you need me to run. And I don't want to stay at work 60 hours a week anymore, and that was the only way I knew how to do my job. And so I told him I'm relearning how to do my job. It's just not my top priority anymore, and I'll figure it out, and it'll be fine, but this is all new to me. It was a very hot skillet. And my daughter was 8 months old when one of the other teachers called me at home and told me that one of our students had died. And I yelled at her because I didn't believe her. But it was true. One of our students had been driving. One of our students had been sitting in the passenger seat. And it was the student in the back who had been killed. And so all of a sudden, I was a Jewish mother surrounded by other Jewish mothers who were grieving and mourning. And there was litigation, and there was criminal investigation, and overnight all of our job descriptions changed because we were mediators, and we were counselors, and we were spokespeople, and sometimes we were all of those things at the same time. So one night that week, I left my baby, who was 8 months old, my first child, my pancake child, and I went and I sat with our high school students because they just wanted to be together, and they needed somewhere to be and someone to sit with, and so several of the teachers just sat with them. And that night, as mediator and counselor and spokesperson, I ended up chasing away a news truck, because that's what you do when you're responsible for people. So we got back to work after the weekend, after the funeral, and my boss asked my husband, "Was this the first student you lost?" And my husband said yes. And my boss, who'd been in teaching for years at that point, was already into double digits. And so what I learned was, we're all pancake children, and we're all pancake teachers, and we're all pancake administrators, and pancake fathers and mothers and brothers and sisters, because we're all just trying to do the best we can given the circumstances around us. Sometimes they're catastrophic. Sometimes the skillet is really, really hot. But whether your catastrophic circumstances are global or local or personal, the best we can do is get back up and help the next pancake.